Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's ex that she could have been my mom if she didn't cheat on my dad? Original post. Let me describe my family a bit. I am the youngest of 4 children, by far the youngest. I have 2 older brothers and 1 older sister. My mom is my dad's second wife. From his first wife, I have an older half-sister who is 3 years older than my oldest full sibling. His first wife, his childhood friend, cheated on him way before, and after my dad made sure my half-sister was his, he divorced her. He met my mom, and a few years later, they tied a knot. The rest is history. My half-sister has always been welcome in our house. She gets along really well with all of us and even calls my mom auntie. Her mom, though, has always been a bit of a harpy. She hates my mom for many reasons outside of she stole my man. My mom is a retired fitness model and currently Pilates instructor, so she looks really good for her age, while she's more average and plump. She would always make snarky remarks like, "Oh, did you gain weight?" Or, "Are you pregnant again?" Even though my mom never stopped taking care of herself. With me though, she dotes on me and calls me the son she never had. With my older siblings, she mostly just ignores them. So my half-sister is getting married and my dad and his ex agreed to split the cost of the wedding 50-50. My dad doesn't care about planning for the wedding, so he left it all to the ex and the bride. During one of our meet and greet dinners, my half-sister revealed that she also invited my dad's estranged brother and parents. I can still remember my dad shooting a glare of pure anger at her. I asked my mom later why he reacted like that. I never met my uncle or grandparents on my dad's side, but from how my mom spoke, my dad's ex cheated on him with his brother and his parents knew it for years before confessing. So my half-sister could have been my cousin or something if the sperm chase went wrong. My dad's ex was together with my dad's brother for a while after she and my dad divorced, but split soon after. And my dad refused to forgive his family for fooling him like that, and went no contact with them for 25 years. So back to the dinner. My dad asked in a very stern yet quiet voice why she would, and my half-sister said she wanted to make her wedding more meaningful by also having a family reunion, and her mother supported her. She told my dad to bury the hatchet, at least for her daughter. My dad said she didn't have any right to tell him how to act. On her way out, my dad's ex and I bumped into each other, and she commented to me how she hoped that I wouldn't have a chip on my shoulder like my dad does. If not for that, they can still be one whole happy family, she said. I didn't like her tone and reminded her that she was the one who cheated and broke the family. And I told her that she could have been my mom. The last part made her cry like crazy as she ran out of the house. My dad asked me what happened and I told him, and he just grunted. Did I go too far? Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not the a-hole. She constantly talks smack about your mom, makes a snarky comment about your dad, and you responded, "Oh well, play stupid games, win stupid prizes." I'm shocked that your dad is still going to the wedding though. How mature of him. Well, my dad is struggling with that at the moment. He really doesn't want to see his brother and parents because he says there are lines that family don't cross. I mean, honestly, I think he should have a conversation with your sister emphasizing that this would not be a family reunion. He hasn't talked to them in 25 years. I highly doubt 26 would be hard for him. If she can't respect that, then I totally understand him backing out physically. I sense the ex put this idea into her daughter's head, but daughter is an a-hole for going along with it. Not the a-hole and your sister is an idiot. 1. Weddings are not the place for reunions like this. Plus, your dad doesn't want to reunite. All she's doing is setting herself up for her wedding to be chaotic when your dad's family attempts to approach any of you guys, or when her mother, who loves drama, makes snarky/crude comments that involve them. The way I would ignore/be rude if any of my dad's family try to come up to me or make small talk after what they pulled. Ew. Your dad is better than me because I don't think I would even go. I'd have a serious conversation with half-sister about why she's choosing these people she barely knows, who's hurt her father so deeply, over him. 2. All you did was tell the truth. Honestly, I would just stop engaging with her at all. Why even entertain her fake politeness with someone constantly disparaging your mother? Every time she makes one of her stupid comments, just stare blankly at her like she doesn't exist or doesn't matter. Guarantee that would tick her off even more. She enjoys the drama and attention. Give her absolutely nothing. Not a-hole. My sister is a bit of an airhead, to be honest. After the divorce, she more or less went back and forth between her mom and my dad. Now for the first update. Thank you so much for all your comments. I am glad that at least I wasn't being cruel. My dad's ex just bawled so much and suddenly that I thought I did something awful and I was worried. As of now, I don't really know what my dad is going to do. I know that my mom and dad are talking about it, but he really seems conflicted. I thought about asking him, but my oldest brother told me not to. He said that I had nothing to do with it, so I shouldn't bother him. My full siblings and I did just talk to my half-sibling about what she had done in our WhatsApp chat tonight. First, my full sister tore my half-sister a new one, calling all sorts of names, before my brother told her to stop or leave the chat. Then he asked her why she did what she did. Turns out that her idea of including a family reunion in her wedding was an idea from our paternal grandparents and her mom. Unlike myself and my full siblings, my half-sister regularly visited her grandparents and talked to them a lot about us. My grandparents apparently wanted to see us really bad, and her mom popped the idea. Then my second oldest brother said that while it was her wedding and she could invite whom she liked, she didn't take our father's feelings into account. There was a reason that he went no contact with them for all these years, and it wasn't up to her to try to fix burnt bridges. My half-sister then asked if Dad was going to pull money out of the wedding, and my sister sent a brutal message. Is that the most important thing right now, you bleep? I added that our father hasn't told us anything. My half-sister said that she shouldn't have even done this to begin with, and my sister commented, "You think?" She wondered if she couldn't send wedding invitations to her grandparents and uncle, but then her mom might pull her money. I sent the chat to my full siblings only chat. If Dad could fund a whole wedding, if that meant not inviting his brother and parents. My oldest brother told me to can it and don't bother Dad. She also asked how our dad has been, and I said that he is very conflicted and talking only to Mom about it. And then asked if her mom was okay since I made her cry. She said that her mom calmed down when they returned home. Apparently, they got into an argument when she called my dad a stubborn sob. To be honest, I think she is in a very tight spot. She can either piss off our dad or her mom. I don't know what my dad is going to do, and my oldest brother already reminded me twice that this wasn't my business. I honestly think Dad would be up for paying for the entire wedding if his estranged family didn't come. Of course, it's his money though, or maybe he is just so angry that he might pull out altogether. Edit: I didn't post the entire conversation that my full siblings and I had with my half-sister. I pulled only the relevant parts. What I was thinking when I thought my dad could pay for the entire wedding was, does Dad hate his family to the point where he could pay for everything just for them not to be there? I wasn't actually suggesting he pay for everything. That's stupid. Looks like a lot of you are wondering if my half-sister knew what happened between my dad and his family. She knows that they hurt him badly and has never forgiven them, but not the specifics of how they had hurt him. She knew the cheating part, but not the family lied to him for years part. Apparently, that's not something her mom or my dad's family discussed with her. Your sister is in a tough spot because she didn't think things through. That's on her. She fooled around and found out. Don't recommend your dad to fund the whole thing because weddings are expensive, and that's not your money to offer suggestions with. Your half-sister is already an a-hole. Your dad doesn't need another dumb a-hole making plans with his money while disregarding his feelings. Stay out of it. Her wedding is none of your business. Let your dad decide if he wants to pull out funding or if he'll fund and decide not to attend. Don't believe whatever his ex or your half-sister say about the other side being uninvited. They pulled this BS now. They can ambush your dad with his relatives during the wedding day. Not sure if you saw OP's edit, but the half-sister was never told the exact reason for why the uncle plus grandparents are estranged. She knows the cheating, but not the family lied to him for years part, because neither her mom nor her dad or their families would discuss with her. Not saying this means she is not the a-hole, but she also did not have all the information when making her decisions, which makes those around her a wee bit of an a-hole for not telling her. Even from what OP said in the edit, I don't think it is solidly clear if she knows the cheating was with the uncle or if she just thinks it was her mom cheated and the uncle/grandparents supported her mom over her dad. Or maybe she knows that her mom cheated with her uncle but doesn't really know about how the grandparents play into this since she doesn't know about the years of lying. Again, not saying she wasn't an a-hole, just that I have a bit more empathy for her because this seems like some vital information was/is missing, when literally all of her family except her knew the full truth all along. Not a-hole, your dad has been so disrespected in this mess. If I were him, I would pull funding of the entire clown show. Let the circus die the premature death it is destined for. Keep supporting your dad. Good luck. Right, I feel like he should pull out funding and just go low contact with his eldest kid. She's an adult who will have her own nuclear family soon. She's not his problem now. Now for the second update. So my half-sister came over Sunday and talked to my dad. Basically, she made a decision to have the wedding without her extended family and pay for the half of the wedding by herself and her fiancé. She sort of figured that her mom would pull her money out for making that decision. Dad seems to be much happier about it. I saw her crying a lot and my dad hugging her. Not sure on what happened exactly, but I'm guessing she apologized, and he accepted it. She stayed with us during the weekend and her mom came by. Mom and dad wouldn't let her in, so my half-sister and her mother talked outside for a bit. I guess it started off well, but then I heard shouting from outside. So when I came downstairs, both of them were screaming at each other. My dad calmly walked out and told my half-sister to go on in. He talked to her calmly while she went back and forth from screaming and crying. Then a car came by and a man stepped out. He walked towards my dad and held out his hand, but Dad didn't take it. He sort of looked like my dad, but shorter and with longer hair, so I guess that he was my uncle. He tried to talk to my dad, but my dad pretty much ignored him. I went to my brothers and told them what was happening, and they immediately walked down and outside. They told me to stay inside, so I continued to stare out the window. My brothers just stood on the balcony. The new man said hi to them, but they didn't respond. Anyway, my dad spoke a bit with his ex-wife for a while and came back inside with my brothers. His ex-wife was glaring at my dad for a bit before going back to her car with a guy. When my brothers sat down, I asked if that was my uncle, and the oldest one nodded. Apparently, my two older brothers met my uncle purely by accident before. Things were smooth that night. My half-sister's fiancé came by and we all had a nice dinner. My mom and my sisters went away to plan the wedding since her mother is not joining in anymore. My brothers, my dad, me, and the fiancé just talked about stuff until we heard lots of honking right outside. We went to check it out and my uncle was back with my dad's ex-wife. My dad told my mom to call the cops while he tried to handle the situation. My brothers, my dad, and my half-sister's fiancé went out. There was some yelling and screaming, but then the cops came and they went away. So for the time being, my half-sister will be staying with us. I thought all was done until I got a text from my dad's ex after school yesterday. She asked if I could help her with something. I just blocked her number, but she then texted me on another number. I'm pretty sure my parents and brothers would say block her again, but there is nothing stopping her from using another phone numbers to bug me. Not sure what I can help her with anyway. Don't block, just ignore. This will allow your family to collect information to file for a protection order against the ex. This is a key and important suggestion. She is escalating, and legal action will likely be required at some point. Do not engage with her, but save the texts and any voicemails for evidence. Definitely, it can be used as evidence in case any legal action needs to be taken. Don't engage, just give her an opportunity to incriminate herself and show your father everything. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law live with us because I don't trust her, even though she's homeless? So my wife, 29 female, and I, 41 male, have been together for 5 years, married for 2. Everything has been great between us, except for one issue. Her sister, Megan, 26 female. Megan has always been a bit of a mess. Job hopping, partying, dating sketchy guys, and making terrible life decisions. Despite all of this, my wife always goes out of her way to help her, which I guess is understandable since they're close. A couple months ago, Megan got evicted from her apartment because she stopped paying rent. She claims it's because her ex-boyfriend stole money from her. She has nowhere to go and no savings. My wife came to me and said we should let Megan stay with us for a little while until she gets back on her feet. I immediately said no. Here's why. 1. Megan has stolen from us before. It was small stuff, random things like cash from my wallet or expensive liquor from our cabinet, but it's the principle. When we confronted her, she downplayed it and said she was just borrowing. 2. I don't trust her around our home. She's messy, careless, and honestly a bit of a liar. She's crashed her car multiple times, has had multiple landlords say she trashed their apartments, and I don't need that kind of stress in our house. We've worked hard to have a nice, peaceful home. 3. I know for a fact that if she moves in, she'll never leave. Megan is always looking for an easy way out, and I'm not willing to have a freeloader under my roof, especially one who has proven she can't be trusted. We'd be stuck with her forever. When I explained all of this to my wife, she got really upset. She said Megan had nowhere else to go and that she couldn't let her own sister be homeless. I told her Megan had other options. She could move in with her parents or, find a stable job. But my wife insists that she needs to stay with us because it's closer to her work and Megan doesn't get along with her parents. I told my wife that Megan could maybe stay for a weekend or something short, but absolutely no long-term arrangement. My wife then accused me of being heartless and not caring about her family, which isn't true. I just don't want to deal with Megan's irresponsibility. We got into a huge fight about it, and now my wife is giving me the silent treatment. Meanwhile, Megan has been couch surfing and still hasn't found a permanent place, so the pressure is building. I'm holding my ground, but now both my wife and her family are calling me an a-hole for letting Megan suffer when we have a spare room that could easily accommodate her. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister-in-law move in, even though she's homeless? Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Once she moves in, you'll never get her out. She can go live with her parents if it's that dire of a situation. Obviously, there's a reason they don't want her either. Exactly. Go to the roommate sub and read horror stories of letting friends/families/coworkers come stay. I know a lot of people will say you're the a-hole, but seriously, wouldn't do it. You are being very realistic. The last point of your list is the worst. There is no exit plan. Press your wife on that. What is a little while? What is the plan for getting back on her feet? What happens if she does not stick to the plan? She won't. What is going to be different 6 months from now? Fair warning. Your wife is willing to bend over backwards for a thief and has zero respect for your concerns. Don't be surprised if the sister ends up precipitating the death of your relationship. If you take my advice and let the thieving do the legwork for you, will your wife take your side or her sister's? If she's caught stealing like she was before, my wife will take my side. She has a good head on her shoulders and is not controlled by her feelings. I have confidence that in a situation like you mentioned, cool heads will prevail from her, and her sister would be asked to leave. Mini update. My wife read through a lot of these comments after me and her had a chat. I think with a couple people's comments, she can really understand where I'm coming from and view this outside of it just being her sister. Thanks, Reddit. Update. My 25 female best friend, 24 male, proposed to me. I'm confused and mortified. Where can we go from here? Original post. Frankly, I'm still in shock that this happened, so this might be all over the place. Bear with me. All fake names, etc., etc. Jordan and I met in university 2 years ago. We both started at the same time, and because of our ages, we were both considered mature students. We quickly became firm friends as we shared a dorm, and we joke around together about us being old enough to be considered mature in our early 20s. We weren't on the same course, but given we lived together, we would hang out pretty much all the time whenever we didn't have a lecture. We joined a bunch of societies together, went drinking every weekend together, etc., etc. It was a pretty sweet gig because it meant we were at least never alone. Obviously, we made other friends, both alone and together, but we were always each other's number one at the end of the day. At the moment, we're on spring holidays for Easter. And while we haven't hung out constantly, we decided to make plans to visit each other's hometowns because we're from very starkly different places. Today, we went to mine, a big city central. This morning, we went there and were wandering down the streets, doing some sightseeing because he's never been. There's typically a lot of street sellers here, trying to sell you everything from hot dogs to fluffy Pokemon hats. I decided I wanted to get a caricature done. I've never had one, and I thought it would be funny to get and hang over my bed when we got back for term. I asked Jordan if he wanted to get in, and he refused. No worries, so I sat down to get it done. They don't take very long, 5 to 10-ish minutes, so I stayed. Looked straight forward at the artist the entire time. He finished the caricature. I loved it. So obviously I turned to show it properly to Jordan. When I turned though, I literally don't even know what to say. He's down on one knee, holding up a ring box. I don't even really know what he said, if he did a whole proposal speech thing, because I was so confused. I was barely paying attention. Remember again, this is a super busy tourist city, so this has drawn a mini crowd now, coming over to cheer us on. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. To be honest, I thought this was some kind of odd prank type thing. We never have been prankster types or whatever, but I couldn't come up with a reasonable explanation. So I just laughed and laughed and laughed, until I looked at Jordan and he looked genuinely heartbroken. So obviously I asked him something along the lines of, "You're not being serious." This is the only thing I remember him saying. He shut the box, stood up, shrugged and said, "I guess not anymore," and walked off. This left me standing pretty awkwardly in this gathered crowd of people, a lot of whom were giving me dirty looks, which made me incredibly uncomfortable. The plan was to meet back up a hotel that we had booked rooms next door to one another. So I figured that's where he's going and head back that way. But he's not there, so I wait and he still doesn't return. I text him out of concern. This was at 1:15 p.m. It's currently 6:20 p.m. as I'm writing this, just asking if he's okay. He responds with a long message back, which I would post because it's an odd read, but I won't out of respect for his privacy, in which he basically accuses me of leading him on, asking why I didn't break up with him sooner, saying I had publicly humiliated him and that he thought I loved him the same way, and that I felt our relationship was strong enough to consider taking the next step. Now, this is completely out of left field. I literally have got no idea where in the world he's got this idea from. The closest we've ever physically been is a hug, hello, and goodbye. I've never even jokingly flirted with him for exactly this reason. I've had too many friendships collapse because they can't tell the difference between serious, interesting, and joking banter in friendships. So I've been extra careful to not. We've never kissed, never been on date, never had sex. I do not find him physically attractive, and I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with him. I don't understand where on earth he's got this idea that we are. This isn't something he's ever brought up before this, and I'm genuinely bewildered. He hasn't returned to the hotel yet. I periodically knock to check, and have been listening out for him walking up the hallway or anything. Nothing. I haven't responded to his long paragraph, because honestly, I don't know how to. I'm just so stunned and taken aback that I genuinely have no idea where to go from here or what to do. I haven't told anyone I know in person yet, mostly because I don't want to bring this up to people who know Jordan. So here I am turning to strangers on Reddit instead. What in the world do I do? Now for the top advice before reading the update. If/when he returns, I would only meet to discuss this in a public area. It doesn't sound like he is taking it well, and his perception of reality seems to be questionable. Be careful. This, as a woman, you have to always think of your safety first, before you can consider his feelings. Keep yourself safe above all else. I hope they aren't still sharing a dorm like she mentioned in her post. He is at the age where severe mental illness can really manifest. Reach out to his family and share your concerns. Normal, healthy-minded people do not imagine years-long romantic relationships with people. I would also avoid being alone with him until it's confirmed that his grasp on reality is not tenuous. Thank you. I don't really know any of his family, but I'll see what I can do. Is he religious by any chance? This could possibly explain how he could see the lack of any physical intimacy as compatible with dating. You're staying pure. I assume you've never dated/hooked up with anyone during your friendship with him? He's Catholic, but non-practicing. He believes in God and the Bible and such, but he doesn't go to church, and as far as I know, he isn't very strict in his beliefs. I've had hookups, but no relationships. He hasn't had any relationships, but I'm not sure about hookups. We don't even talk about that stuff with each other, to be honest. Outside of the occasional his fit, I would while people watching. This kinda happened to me. Like, not to the point of proposal, but I lived with a male roommate who was already a close friend of mine for several years. When I was moving out, he confronted me and basically said he thought we should continue our relationship and get married and get a pet, and I need to break my new lease and stay with him, among many other really unhinged things. It was absolutely out of character, and like you, we were friends for years. And there was never any indication that we were anything else. And I dated while we lived together. Long story short, he was having a mental breakdown and eventually got psych help. We reconnected like a year later and he explained this, and that he basically had a psychotic break and why. It's been like 7 years now, and we're still good friends to this day, lol. He's stable now and has a long-term girlfriend, and we're good friends as well. I would seriously recommend you alert someone to his mental state and not re-engage until he is back to reality, if/when that happens. Edited to add, I don't want to sound like I'm minimizing this. You need to be away from him. Wouldn't really recommend going to his hotel room, etc. If you have to meet, do it in public. Regardless of if it's mental health related or if he's gaslighting/manipulating you on purpose, he's not stable, so do not be around him. Either your presence will continue to add to his delusion or you risk your safety, or both. My first thought was mental breakdown. You need to contact his family members ASAP, as well as your own family and friends, to inform them of the outline of what's going on. It's not nice. I know you don't want to embarrass him, but at least one other trustworthy person needs to know the full story. Stay with friends. Do not meet with him unless in public. And bring a friend you know could physically back you up, who can stay on the sidelines. Bottom line is, he needs a psychiatric evaluation. He may be violent. Family needs to know that no matter how he is presenting. If this is a psychotic episode, he can escalate to violence suddenly and without warning. Do not make physical contact if you can avoid it. Do not invite him in. If this is delusion, he can quickly become convinced that family members or you yourself are imposters, and that his family is in danger, or any number of similar ideas. Now for the first update. Jordan did in fact not come back to the hotel. I stayed up until 1 a.m. before falling asleep, and he didn't return. When I woke up the next day, the hotel staff let me know he had checked himself out at about 6 a.m. I did end up responding to his big, long text. I took everyone's advice and told him that I was sorry it didn't go as he had expected, but that I wasn't sure where he'd got the impression that we were together. I said I'd be happy to sit and have a discussion about it all, so we could make sure we're on the same page. He was not happy about this at all, and he again went off, which a bunch of the same type of thing he'd said in his first message. It didn't really seem to be going through his head at all. Even in these new texts, he kept referring to this all as me breaking up with him, despite me explicitly telling him we are not and never have. Again, all his messages were very clear and coherent, even if what he was saying was not based in reality at all. He wasn't sending paragraphs, just sentences in really quick succession, which was blowing my phone up. He told me he didn't want to meet up with me to talk, because I had ripped out his heart and crushed it in public. I did ask him for specific instances he could recall between us that made him think we were dating, but he completely ignored the question and just kept going on and on about how hurt he was that I was breaking up with him and how he felt his world was ending. He said he loved me more than anything and had felt so confident that I had too, which is why he felt so certain about proposing to move our relationship along. Eventually, to be honest, I grew pretty tired of the conversation and stopped responding, because it was just going around and around in circles. Me asking where he got this idea, him ignoring this and telling me how hurt he is and breaking up with him over this, etc., etc. He went on and on saying he thought it would be a ring I like because it was my favorite gem, ruby instead of diamond. It's got me wondering how much he actually spent on his damn thing. I didn't look very clearly at the ring, so I couldn't tell if it was something super expensive or not. And that he had been working up the courage to do so for a while, and figured doing it when I was at home would make it more special. For a while, he was just talking to himself in my texts, because I wasn't responding anymore. When I checked back about 20 minutes later, I had something like 60 messages from him. Granted, they were all one sentences. At the very end, he apologized and told me that it didn't matter anyway, because I wouldn't see him around anymore. Obviously, I was concerned, so I asked for clarification. He said that he was going to drop out of university and go back home because he couldn't deal with the shame. That's where our conversation ended. I didn't really know what to respond to that. As it stands now, I don't really know where Jordan is. I didn't ask him, which is my bad. I'm not sure if/when we will talk again. I'm sorry this is quite a boring update. Unfortunately, I can't excite everyone with and then he turned up at my door and then he sent me flowers or whatever. It feels a lot isn't answered. I still don't know where he got the idea we were dating from. He hasn't explained that. So I'm sorry I can't give everyone that answer. I haven't reached out to his family yet. I did consider it, but if he's not having a mental health crisis, I don't really want to involve them unnecessarily. I understand not wanting to involve family, but as you are close and in college, surely there are other friends/people who know you both you could reach out to and ask. You don't even have to go into specifics. Just be like, hey, did you think that Jordan and I were dating? Have you heard Jordan refer to us as dating? Get a sense of whether this is something ongoing and he's just a regular weirdo, or if this is something concerning that should be brought up with family or mental health professionals at your school. We do share some mutual friends. I haven't really considered reaching out to them, but I'll definitely think about doing so. I feel like someone would have told me if he had been saying that to them though, but obviously I'm not certain. I haven't told anyone in real life about it, not even my parents. Just been keeping under the near total anonymity of Reddit, but I can definitely see why it may be important to do this. I would recommend telling your parents, just in case anything else were to happen. Second update. So adding on, a lot of people said I should ask our mutual friends if he's ever brought this up before, ever suggested we were dating, etc. All of the people I've asked, granted it was only 5, said that they've not got a clue, and he's never mentioned it before now. I don't know then if this is something that he's newly started thinking or if it's been something long-term, etc. Either way, in addition, I've also screenshotted all of his texts and such, just in case. Reading back on them, not with a slightly less confused mindset, they read pretty manic. Still haven't heard back from his mom just yet. Last story. My boyfriend proposed and now I don't want to marry him anymore. I know this might seem stupid and ungrateful, but honestly, I am too upset to even care. 2 days ago, my boyfriend proposed to me at a McDonald's near our house. He got on his knees in the middle of us eating and asked if I wanted to marry him with a silver ring. Some people were looking at me with happy faces and others with looks of pity and disgust. That is how I felt in that moment. I didn't say anything. I literally just sobbed and nodded my head because I didn't want to embarrass him. The reason I am mad over his wave proposal was because 1, we don't talk about him proposing every day, but we probably talk about it twice a month with him usually bringing it up. I told him I wanted my mom, dad, and my sister to be there if it was possible, and for it to be in a romantic setting. 2, I hate silver jewelry. I'm a gold girl and he knows it. I told him I would never want a silver ring, and if it does buy me any jewelry, it's gold. I feel like if you're asking someone to spend their life with you, then it should be more thought out and planned. I don't think this is the type of person I want to marry, but I don't know. I've been trying to convince myself since yesterday that maybe I hyped up the proposal in my head too much, that whatever he did would not top it off. I think anything but that would have been better. Now for the top advice before the edit/mini update. Maybe it's just me, but it seems like he went out of his way to propose to you exactly how you didn't want. Like he spent some time to think of and plan, so it's exactly how you'd hate it. I was thinking the same thing. I understand maybe getting the wrong ring. Hey, maybe he forgot. But to do it at a McDonald's when she specifically asked for a romantic setting and her immediate family to be there? Didn't seem too hard to do all that, but difficult to forget. Yeah, he actively did everything she didn't want. He could have forgotten everything. Could have forgotten gold instead of silver. Could have forgotten she wanted family there. Could have forgotten she wanted a romantic setting and end up proposing in a restaurant. Could have developed dementia the day before and forgotten absolutely everything that she wanted. And still, who the heck proposes in a McDonald's? Is he trying to get you to break up with him? Because this is so wrong. It feels like he did this on purpose. It's the McDonald's for me. It's like he purposefully did everything the opposite of what she wanted. No family, silver instead of gold, and specifically chose a terrible occasion as the final nail in a coffin. No way a genuine proposal would take place at a McDonald's of all places. Edit/mini update. I didn't expect this to get as much comments as it did. I wanted to answer some things and comments people have put. Why I wanted a gold ring. I wanted a gold banded ring because I only own gold jewelry. I never said it had to be expensive. I literally would have been happy with a simple ring with a gold band. I was more mad at the fact he knows how much I love gold and has bought gold jewelry for me before. We make jokes about how much I hate silver jewelry. How old are you guys? I'm 28 and he's 32. Do you not love him anymore? I love him the same amount still. We've been together for 7 years, and I don't think you can ever stop loving someone that quick. If you loved him, then you would accept any proposal. Well, if someone purposefully asks you what you want your proposal to be like and then they don't make it anything near it, I wouldn't be mad if he did it at the park, the diner where we usually go out to eat with our family, etc. I wanted a place to have more meaning and to be more romantic. Also, for the people that think romantic equals fancy, you guys are dead wrong. Now, to the people wondering if I ever said anything about it, I did. We had a long conversation and he said that he'd rather just get it done quick than pushing our whole lives to do it. It obviously hurt my feelings that he'd want to get something done quick that has to do with him asking me to be in his life forever. He apologized and then said he'd propose in a different way. I didn't really know what to say because it felt like I was asking him to propose instead of him wanting to do it. We are not broken up, but we are also not engaged. We are in a weird place right now because I feel like a proposal is a big thing and he messed it up trying to rush it. Another thing is that he is literally my dream man. He takes me out to dinner every Friday, buys me things without me having to ask, and takes me out on trips spontaneously. This whole thing just threw me off all the way, which is where a lot of this anger and sadness is coming from. I didn't want this post to seem like I hated him, so I'm sorry if you thought that. Am I the a-hole dad gave the business to brother so I left? With updates. Original story. My older brother, 30 male, went to university and then worked in the city as an accountant. I, 27 male, started to work for my dad as a plumber at 15 and went to college to get my qualifications in plumbing and gas. About the time COVID started, my brother moved back from the city and started working for my dad, 55 male, in accounting. My dad has been unwell for the last 4 years due to asbestosis. It has been really hard on the family and he is getting worse, but is still living life. I have been running the business for the last 2 years. We have expanded and now have 50 vans in the fleet, and 1 qualified and 1 trainee allocated to each van. Pandemic was hard in the beginning, but we have bounced back. My dad still works on tools with me on Fridays, half day, then back to my place for some beers. Friday is the only day I'm on tools now as I'm doing everything to run the business. Well, last month he told the family he's stepping down from the business due to health and wants to spend more time with my mother and is giving the business to my brother and for me to step down from acting CEO. This upsets me. I've been with the business for 12 years. At the beginning, it was only me and my dad. My brother never wanted to be in the business and said it was not worth his time. And now he's the boss. And I've been dumped back to a heating engineer with 20,000 pounds pay cut. Doesn't even have any clue what we do or how to do it. I spoke to my dad and he told me that my brother deserves it for all he has done, that he has a family and I don't, and that he went to uni. A lot of the workers are upset about the decision and have told me they will go where I go. I told my dad that if that is how he feels, then I will leave and start my own business. I have not spoken to my dad or brother since, and I have told them to never contact me. For the last month, I've had thousands of calls and messages from family saying some very hurtful things and telling me I'm ungrateful for what I have. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I want to say thank you to everyone for your kind words. There's so many to reply to, and I will do my best to thank you all. To hear my father tell me in his own way he doesn't think I'm good enough was hard, and for my family to take his and my brother's side was even harder. In the morning, I will contact the large clients I've worked with over the last 6 years. I know we had some site postponed due to the bug, big money, and we'll try to take them over. I have 20 of my colleagues wishing to come work for me. I've saved nearly all of my money I have earned over the last 12 years, so I think I have enough to get myself on my feet. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Not a-hole.
I am so sorry. Hopefully your new business is successful. Thanks, but feel bad for taking business away from family. You shouldn't. They took the business away from family, not just from you, but from all the loyal employees who don't want to work with an inexperienced CEO. Not Dayhall. Not Dayhall at all. At least your father could have split business 50-50. Brother in charge of accounting side, you in charge of production. I would make that offer back. If father refuses, I would cut contact and block relatives. I would go start my own business and never look back. Brother turned back on family business while you worked yourself off to build it. To be honest, that's what I thought was going to happen, and was happy when my brother came back to be one big family company. I talked to my father, but my brother has always been the golden child. Not Dayhall at all. Not only did you get screwed out of a business that should have at least been split between you got a huge pay cut to go with it. The fact that your father allowed that to happen shows how he feels about you versus your brother. I am sorry, but I hope you run your brother out of business. Thank you. The hardest part is that my brother signed off on the pay cut. I was still on a very good wage, but that was the last dagger to the heart. I always thought my father would split the business between us, not leave me on the sideline after everything I did for it. Now for the first update. I want to inform everyone that I'm not starting a business to destroy my brother. As much as I want to, I've spent almost 13 years building it, and I don't want to see anyone out of a job or for the business to die. It's about 5 a.m. in England. You have all helped me so much. I will be going over to talk to my father about 8 a.m. and take him out for breakfast and talk. I'm not sure if I will get a proper answer from him, but I love my family and want my future kids to know them. I will update after the events of later today. Second update. As I said in one of the comments, I believe my family had found my post, and they did. This morning, when I arrived at my parents' house, my mom opened the door and looked like she had been crying a lot. My dad came over to talk to me and we went out for breakfast. He didn't say a word on the way there when we arrived. When on the way back, he asked if we could pull over and talk. I can honestly say this was the first time I saw my dad cry. I asked why he did this to me. He said doesn't know. I kept pushing and he finally told me he owed it to my brother for not being about for him as much as me when we were growing up. And there were times my brother needed him, but we were working. I couldn't believe it. After 12 years of hard work, that was his reasoning? I told my father I had spent half my life working to do everything for the business, and how he threw me to the side just because his son came back hurts me more than I could explain. He told me he knows, as they had been shown the post I put up. To my surprise, he wasn't mad, but he seemed remorseful. He told me my mother has been in pieces after reading the comments about how bad she treated me, and thinks I will never talk to them again. My dad told me after reading it all, he realized he should have split the business between us, as it will need both of us to keep progressing, and apologized for me for never telling me how proud he was of everything I had done, and thought I know how proud he was. But my brother has full control and my father has no say anymore, and my brother would never go 50-50. He told me he wants me to go back as my brother will need me. I told him that's not my problem anymore. After he demoted me and cut my pay, I tried to make it work for 3 weeks, but my brother wouldn't listen. Didn't believe I know what I was talking about, telling me he knows how to run a business. So I left. Why work my butt off there when I could do the same work and make more money for myself? My dad broke down, said that he had destroyed the family and should never had done what he did. I don't understand why it took this long to realize I was a valuable piece in the company. Third update. As I said, I have had a couple of Zoom calls with some clients today, and they have gone very well. I have been informed that they will all be sending signed proposal letters for the up-and-coming work. Lucky the site start dates don't clash. That was one of the main things I was worried about. 3 of my colleagues have now left the business and have spoken to my dad informing him about why they left, and that they will be coming to work with me of their own choice. To hear them tell me this meant a lot. They have all between 5 to 10 years more experience in the industry. At the moment, we have all we need to start a new business with the 3 vans I own and tools I have built up over the years. I am looking forward to the new venture in my life and can't wait to share this with my children when I have them. Then I received a call from my father asking me to come over for dinner. I wasn't sure at first, but thought it was probably a step in the right direction. Upon arrival, my whole family was there. I went in and the atmosphere dropped. My mom wouldn't look at me, and my brother just sat there acting as if I didn't exist. My dad came and asked me and my brother to come into his office. He started to ask when I was going to return to the company, as they need me in early Monday morning. I could not even believe what I was hearing. I told them both I'm not coming back and have started my own business. And what does he mean we? You gave the business to him, my brother. My brother started to lose his temper, telling me if I cared about the company, why would I leave? I have some very choice words, before telling him that I have always cared for the company and spent 12 years of my life working to make it successful. Like him, who swans in and takes all the glory, and that I will not sit there and be treated like that. I told my brother to buzz off, so I could talk to Dad. I asked what was this morning all about, telling me sorry but then expects me to go running back? He couldn't even look me in the eye, so I left, said goodbye to my cousin, nieces, and nephews, and walked out. I've been riding for about 3 hours on and off coming back on here to talk to people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the personal message, comments, rewards, and all the kind words and encouragement. I'll try and message everyone, but I'm exhausted and will most likely fall asleep. Fourth update. Sorry it's been a while. I've had a lot going on in the last couple of weeks, so I'll try to explain the most I can. So the new business is going very well. We have a lot of work coming in and making good money. At the end of the year, I will be looking at expanding, so very happy with that. Me and my fiancé are very happy. She's very busy planning the wedding of her dreams. She wants me to wear a suit, but tough luck, I'll be in my kilt. I couldn't be happier that I'm right now waking up to her every day. She's there for me no matter what. It has been my rock through everything. Then my family. My father and brother still refuse to talk to me, and have told me they will not be attending the wedding, even though they haven't been invited. My mother has called my fiancé but hasn't said much, only to ask about wedding stuff and will not talk to me. My fiancé's family have been amazing. My soon-to-be-in-laws have been helping with the wedding and everything else, and I'm extremely thankful for everything they have done for us. My other family have now backed off and apologized and want to make amends for everything that was said. Myself and my fiancé are set to have our wedding in November. We sat down together and have decided to try to have children after we are married. We are both excited to be parents. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not splitting the control of my business to my children equally? Hi, 65-year-old electrician from Germany here. I plan to settle down, traveling with my wife, 65, and spoiling our grandchildren for the rest of our lives. I had built up a small business with now 23 employees. My son Alexander, 36, will take control of it. I have also 2 daughters in which I'm proud of. Laura, 34, has studied biochemistry and has her master's degree. Marie, 30, became a middle school teacher in mathematics and sports. I've recently spoken about my plan at the family gathering. Laura totally agreed to it, but Marie accused me of favoritism. That is not true. I love every one of my children equally, but my son decided to make a training on my side as he graduated, Abitur similar to high school. Additionally, he got a master's license as electrician. So we worked nearly 17 years together. Also, he has the ability to run our business and our employees respect him. I told my daughter the points above, but she said I was always closer to my son as to my daughters. Sadly, I have to admit it is kind of true, but how isn't it possible if I work all day together with my son? He's also my colleague and my right hand at work. My wife Laura and Alexander signed with me, so I need an outside opinion in here. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edited to add. Many of you ask, and here are some answers. Alexander will become the owner. I will be totally out of it. As he started to work with me, we were only 6 people, and as he got his master's license, he trained 7 of our employees. We Germans say he was passionate about it, and he sacrificed a lot. My daughters were offered to work with me and earned money in school holidays on my side, but as they graduated, they had their own career plans which my wife and I have supported, financially and emotionally. Our editor sent a link to another story which I have read, and now I'm pretty sure I can leave the business only to my son. I am thankful for your replies, and I had read almost every one of them. I just think about it if I should benefit my daughters on my will in exchange. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are giving your electrician business to the electrician who has worked there for 17 years. Your employees would think you are the a-hole if you handed control over to someone with no experience other than being related. Reminds me of that AITA firm a few weeks back, where daddy gave the business to the son he did work with and destroyed the family, but in reverse. Hard work should be rewarded. Not the a-hole. Your son has invested his time and energy in the business and helped you make it a success, no doubt. And all of your reasons are also correct. By leaving the business to your son, you're also trying to ensure that the workers and their families also have a long-term future with the business, as your son is best placed to keep the company running successfully. Also, it's your business and your money, and therefore you're right to leave it to whoever you want to. Good luck. German law might disagree in the last part. I hope you should definitely check with a lawyer because there can be certain costs to compensate his other kids when he gives the company to only one child. Not Dehal. That's just sensible business. Marie likely doesn't have much experience in this industry or in running a business. Your son is most qualified and knows the ins and outs after working with you for 17 years. It sounds like Marie's more bitter about Alexander's close relationship with you rather than the handover of the business. Marie could have chosen to be an electrician. Both of them could have. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my inheritance so my cousins and I can have an equal amount? Basically what the title says. My paternal grandma died when I, 20 female, was 3 and my cousins Connor, 24 male, and Olivia, 20 female, were 7 and 4 respectively. In her will, my grandmother left all her money to us grandchildren. Obviously, she didn't know how many children my dad and uncle would end up having, so her will stated that half her money would be split evenly between my uncle's children, and the other half would be split evenly between my dad's children. I'm an only child, so I don't have to split the money with siblings. We get access to the money in our 21st birthday, so Connor has already had his. Olivia's birthday is next month, and mine is in 7 months. My uncle, Connor, and Olivia think that it's unfair that I'm getting more money than they are. When I was 17 and Connor was turning 21, they asked my parents to split my share of the money, so we would all get 33%. My parents said no because it wasn't their money, and that I should be the only one who gets to decide what to do with the money after I get access to it. Since then, they've brought it up a couple of times a year, but as it's getting closer to Olivia's birthday, they've started bringing it up more often. They've even roped in members of our extended family to harass me about it through emails and texts. They say that I'm being selfish but not splitting the money evenly with them, and that it's unfair for me to get more money. They also like to bring up the fact that my parents have jobs with higher salaries than their parents, and being an only child meant that I got more stuff growing up. Which I admit is partially true. I went to private school, I did a lot of extracurriculars, went on holiday abroad at least once a year. At the same time, I didn't get everything that I asked for growing up. And my parents refused to buy me a car when I was 17. I had to buy my own car, whereas their parents did buy them a car. My dad's aunt also constantly told my uncle that my dad was the favorite child, which has left my uncle with a chip on his shoulder, and is using me getting more money to support that idea. I don't want to split the money because it's my money. The money was left to the children of my dad, and it's not my fault that my parents only had me. My parents also taught me how to manage my money, so I plan to put most of the money from my grandma in a lifetime ISA, use some of it to go traveling after university before starting work, a weekend trip to New York for me and my friends for my 21st birthday, and to invest the rest. So it's not like I'm planning on blowing it all in one go. Also, Connor and Olivia's share is still a lot of money each. It's more than most people inherit, and more money than most people have access to in their early 20s. Also, Connor has already blown through most of his money in the last 3 years on partying, traveling in cars, so I don't see why I should have to sacrifice some of my inheritance to make up for the fact that he's wasted most of his. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. Seeing as I've been sent messages about it, I thought I'd let everyone know that my grandma did not exclude my dad and uncle. She only left the money that was in her various bank accounts to the grandchildren. The rest of her assets, such as property, jewelry, her art collection, investment portfolio, etc., was left to them. I've been asked how much money there is in total. I don't really feel comfortable saying the exact amount, but it's safe to say that even the 25% share is fractions of £1 million. Not Dehal. Your uncle and cousin are being entitled. Your grandmother divided her assets as she wished, and no one has the right to question it. This. You are following her will. What would have happened if you had 4 siblings? Do you honestly think they would split their money? Not Dehal. Not Dehal. Not unfair at all. Your grandma split it up fairly between her children's children. When they tell you that you're being selfish, fire back with, you're being greedy. You have no legal claim to my inheritance. If they want more money, they can go earn it. Many people go through life never receiving any kind of inheritance. You don't have to justify yourself here. You're honoring your grandma's wishes exactly as her will was laid out. Anyone who has a problem with it can go complain about it at her grave. Not Dayhal. This is a fair but not equal situation. Your grandmother was very fair by splitting 50-50 to each side of her two sons' descendants. The situation between the cousins isn't equal for obvious reasons. Don't give them any money because if the roles were reversed, they wouldn't give you a dime extra. My gran actually did this. She left most of her money to my uncles, but had a clause that said that if they had died, then the money would go to their kids instead. One uncle only had one child, the other one had two. So essentially, if one of my uncles had died, it would have been 25-25-50. The kids are looking at it as though they are entitled to the entire pot, but actually they're entitled to their share of 50% of it.
Update. My parents want to give my sister the earrings my grandma left to me. Original post. This story is so weird. When I, 27 female, was 20 years old, I was in a relationship/friends with benefits situation with a guy, now 40 male. It was messy. We were on and off for almost 5 years. He was always clear he wasn't ready for a relationship, and I was always clear I was madly in love with him. Every time I got tired of the situation and wanted to leave, somehow he'd convince me to stay. Because love is free, we have so much time together, he wasn't ready to commitment. I asked my sister for advice, now 42 female, and she gave me some crappy advice. Like make him compromise, leave stuff at his place, and basically turn him into a boyfriend until it was too late to him to say no. I never managed to do that because I wanted him to love me as much as I loved him, not trap him. The last night I spent at his place, he said he wanted to try something more serious with me. Talked about some dates he planned, etc., only to ghost me forever. It was hard. This was the first person I loved, and he treated me like crap. 6 months passed and my sister came home. We both lived with our parents, saying she wanted to introduce her brand new boyfriend. She had to have a ton of boyfriends, but she said this was the one. It was a dinner only with my parents at our home, so I was excluded and expected to just go out or chill in my room. The day came, and while they were dining, I ordered a pizza. I went downstairs only to find a guy I was with 6 months prior dining with my parents and sister. I was shocked, but paid for my pizza and went to my room again to cry. After dinner was over, I confronted my sister in front of our parents and begged her to not be with him, to be loyal to me, her little sister. There's no way she didn't know who he was. I had showed her pictures of him, his social media, where he worked, and she even knew where he lived. They never met because he didn't want to meet my family and never introduced his. But she knew who he was, and she excluded me from that dinner because she knew. She said they met by chance after we stopped seeing each other. She knew how hard his disappearance was for me. She knew how painful it was to not have even a closure. He just stopped replying, not even blocking me, just left me there wondering after 5 years. She knew that during those 6 months I was still hurting. I know how it was my fault. I was too naive and thought that if I stayed long enough, he would be ready for the relationship I wanted and would learn to love me. Stupid, I know. She defended herself, saying it was a coincidence and the chemistry was there. She loved him and she wasn't going to lose the love of her life. This stuff only happens once in a lifetime. When I was in my early 20s, I would believe that. However, now, I know that there are 8 billion people in this world. There's no one love of your life. You can find the love of your life multiple times if you look for it. My parents sided with her and said I should get over it since we never have a real relationship. 1.5 years have passed. I've been excluded from multiple family gatherings because he would be around, and my family thinks I will bring negative vibes since I'm still bitter about everything. I have no feelings for him, but I feel betrayed by my sister and my parents. He is just POS in my eyes now. My sister is now 6 months pregnant. Due to her age, she had been extremely pampered by my parents. She still lives at home and is going to move with him maybe 2 months after the baby is born. Then they're going to get married. In my culture, it's normal that a woman who gives birth to move back or stay with her mother, so the mom will help with the baby for the first months. A week ago, my sister's friends made a surprise baby shower. I happened to be at home. I tried to talk to them, but I don't know why. Maybe because my sister and I were close before and I'm sad that we're no longer friends. But her friends acted like I wasn't there. It only replied to me with yes, no, or silence, as if I was the one that created this mess. Or I was a homewrecker. Or I tried to seduce my sister's man. I was planning to move already. I was saving money, etc. But after that, I left immediately to a friend's house and now in the process to find my own place. 2 days ago, I received a call from my parents asking me to have a talk. I went to their house and they informed me that the diamond earrings my grandma left me will be given to my sister. Those earrings have been in my family for 4 generations. And before my grandma died, she said the earrings will be mine and my sister will have received a gold necklace. Grandma trusted my parents with the earrings. There was no will or anything. She just asked to give it to me when I was mature enough to appreciate/take care of a family heirloom. Now my parents think that since my sister is getting married first and is having grandma's first great-grandchild, my sister should have it. I'm really mad now. They're robbing me of something my grandma left to me. I don't think my parents are evil. I think they were too worried my sister wouldn't marry due to her age. Which again, in my culture, a single woman in her 40s is something her family worry about. And now that she's forming a family, they want to reward her with everything. But I was the closest to my grandma. She made it clear the earrings will be mine, not my sister's. Not the first one to marry or have a child, but mine. After 2 years of being excluded in favor of my sister, I gave the ultimatum to my parents. They give the earrings to me as my grandma intended or I will cut them from my life forever. Not gonna lie, the idea of cutting my family off is too painful. But I feel they already made me and still makes me so wrong, I don't want them in my life anymore. I feel a little shallow fighting over this, but those are only things my grandma left me. They're not entitled to them. Now for the top advice before reading the update 5 months later. Wow, your parents and sister have some nerve. OP gets ghosted, and 6 months later older sister is sleeping with her ex? Also, sister thereafter is super defensive about her partner? Who wants to bet she was seeing OP's boyfriend before they broke up, and that's why he ghosted her? OP, for Pete's sake, steal the earrings if you can, and then never talk to any of these people again. Your parents and sister are awful, and they will keep harming you if you allow them to stay in your life. Also, me suspects they only want to give your sister those earrings since she asked for them, knowing they're yet another thing of yours she can take. Oh, that's an excellent point. Sister has asked for the earrings because grandma left them to OP. Wicked woman. Get your hands on those earrings and keep them safe. They are yours and should be in your possession by now. Ask nicely. Then if she doesn't give them up, tell her you will sue. Then do it. Totally sue. They know they are wrong and trying to ask you for permission to feel better. Sue. Your sister stole too much from your life. Record your conversation for court proceedings if needed. Can't really sue. There was no will, just OP's word. But I do agree with A, getting out ASAP, and B, getting the earrings and hiding them somewhere safe. She should record a phone call with her parents in which she asks them repeatedly how they would feel if something their own grandmothers left to them was usurped to give to someone else, while reminding them a few times that they made a promise to grandmother to give them to OP. Now for the update 5 months later. Yes, I got the earrings. After my post, I went to my parents' house, opened a safe, took the earrings and left. Then after that I went again, told my parents I need time to process stuff and be my own self and gave their house keys. Said I was leaving for good. There were some tears from my mom saying she couldn't believe I was such a bitter person. She raised me better. I was turning my back to my family over nothing. And finally, that it was shameful that I would leave the family house without being married or anything. So it was never about me or her loving me or anything, but social pressure to keep an outdated tradition. My dad was very neutral, gave me a hug and wished me luck. For 2 months nothing happened, and I barely have contact with my family. Found a place to live, tried to heal. Have real fun decorating my new home. Your normal stuff. And then everything happened at once. For those 2 months, my sister and mom never reached out to me. Only my dad sent a text once a week asking how I was and wishing I was doing well. And then my sister's boyfriend / future husband / my ex started to follow me on Instagram again. I found it weird, but anyway, after all, he's my sister's boyfriend / father of my niece / future brother-in-law / my ex with benefits. Then he started to like my stories, and then replying to them with heart emojis and looking good. This happened 3 times maybe, when I received a voicemail from my mom, calling all sorts of names for going after a man that I knew was engaged. That this was some kind of revenge over my poor sister. That I was causing her so much stress, her blood pressure level was to the moon. That I was an inconsiderate femme fatale, and that she raised me better. Later I learned through a cousin that my sister took her fiancé's phone and found several conversations with several women, including his attempt to talk to me. So, of course, she went to my mom crying about me trying to steal her fiancé. All messy, to be honest. Less than a week later, another voicemail from my mom asking me where the heck were the earrings. She went looking for them, and when she couldn't find them, deduced it was me. She called me a thief, a disgrace, dishonored me, and said they didn't consider me family anymore. I was dead to them, and she will be taking legal actions against me for theft if it was possible. I had no option but to block her and my sister and other family members who sided with them. My dad later texted me to let me know my mom went nuts, but they won't take any legal action. By the end of last month, my cousin texted me saying my sister had given birth to my niece. I know I shouldn't, but I did it. Went to the hospital with a gift while wearing my beautiful and fancy earrings. I was kicked out, of course, but it was worth it. I have no plans to see them ever again. Well, maybe my dad. Also, my cousin, big gossiper that girl, let me know my sister is getting married in May, so she will have her happy ever after all. But I'm also living my best life right now. They are toxic. But legal action for earrings that were yours? I think I mentioned this before, but there wasn't a will. My grandma left it to my parents in good faith until I was old enough. So it was easy to say I stole them. I don't know if it was possible or if they had any legal ground. I know you think your sister may have won in a way by marrying your ex-boyfriend, but know that she's made a mistake of her life. That man has been running around on her this entire time. I guarantee you, and he will never stop doing it. Your sister will spend this entire marriage worrying about him cheating because she will constantly see the signs. OP, you dodged a bullet. Don't think your sister will get her happy ending. If her husband isn't already cheating on her, it's only a matter of time. Glad you got the earrings back. If possible, maybe try and get it in writing from your dad that they acknowledge that your grandma said you were to have the earrings. Maybe to the effect of, I'm glad to hear that you will not be taking legal action, but why did mom want to in the first place? And what has changed her mind? Just thinking that you might have some evidence of your grandma's wishes to show if you ever did have a legal issue. Also, I sort of empathize. My grandma passed just over a year ago now, and since I was 14, we would have chats about her jewelry and ornaments, as I would clean them and dust them for her. She said to me a few times, right then, my name, tell me which of this you want when I die. Very direct woman she was. And I always loved her eternity ring, as it was of course a very sentimental item. One of our last conversations about it was when she was 101 or 102, and we again talked about what I would like, and she again said she would talk to my mom about it and make sure I got it. Of course her will didn't mention division of assets, just that everything was to go to my mom, her daughter. So when I asked my mom about the ring Grandma had promised me, my mom said that she hadn't been told to give anything to anyone specifically. And my sister had been over and seen the ring, and she really loved it. Cue about 5 months of my mother refusing to give anything of Grandma's to anyone because she didn't want to pick sides and cause an argument. Red, she favors my sister and didn't want to upset her. Finally, my sister came over and we talked about it. I said my piece about all the times I had spoken to Grandma about it and what Grandma had said. Happier ending than yours, as my sister did say I could have the ring, but the feeling of not being believed and Grandma's promise just being dismissed by my mom was awful. Plus, I felt I was seen as being greedy and materialistic because it is a very valuable piece of jewelry, but when I was younger, I didn't know that. I just loved it as it was what my grandma was given for having my mom and loved the history behind it. I'm glad things ended well between both of you and you got the ring. I also questioned if I was being just greedy and shallow for fighting for it, but it's the meaning behind it what makes it so special. Last story. I found out my daughter is sleeping with my friend who she's known since she was 7. I, 43 female, have a daughter, 22 female, who I'll call Liv. My good friend, who I'll call Adam, 42 male, has known my daughter since she was 7 years old. He would even babysit her for me and my husband, Stephen, 46 male. My husband is as disgusted and outraged just as much as I am. I found out 3 weeks ago when my daughter hosted a party to celebrate her birthday. She said she wanted to do one day with her friends and then the next with her family. She even took it upon herself to invite Adam, which confused me because I didn't give her his contact info. I noticed they were awfully close with each other and it even made me uncomfortable. The final straw was when I saw him caress the back of her shoulder and then I confronted her in private about this. She said that her and Adam had been seeing each other for about 6 months now. I was extremely angry and reminded her that she has known this man since she was a child. She further went on to say she was an adult and could make her own decisions. I stormed out and I cussed out Adam for even thinking this was all right. He fired back saying that she was capable of deciding what she wants. My husband got into the argument, almost causing a fight to break out. My husband and I left feeling ashamed of what had happened. It's now been 3 weeks and my daughter is still refusing to speak to me. I will not forgive Adam because I feel as if I don't truly know how long they have been messing around. For all I know, she may have lied about the 6 months and they could have had this going on since she was underage. The thought of it makes my stomach turn because if it is true, why didn't I notice? Everything was fine before I found this out and my daughter was a very well-behaved child. I wouldn't have never imagined this. I feel as if I am a bad mother because what if there were signs she and him were involved while she was still a teenager? I do not know what to do and how to move forward from this. Now for the advice. Oh man, this exact situation happened with my friend's older sister. She started dating her dad's best friend at 21. It was always a touchy thing in their family. Are they still together? No, not anymore, but they were together for years and even got married. It's always sad that the younger girl can't see that the way the older man is treating her is not love. He is willing to destroy her family life and isolate her, is willing to date a 22-year-old at 42 to great disrespect towards her husband being a family friend and not even asking. These are signs of a manipulative person who is seeking to rip her away and take advantage of a vulnerable person with less life experience. Men like him are sneaky, so try not to blame yourself for not seeing. At 22, there's nothing you can do, but try to tell her your wisdom if she'll listen and try to be understanding through it, so she feels comfortable to run to you when he starts to abuse her. Show her my comments on my profile so she can see evil people are out there to hurt others. It was hard for me to believe it until my 30s. I'm not sure myself how long the relationship has been going on, or how he treats her in the relationship. Adam was a really good friend before all this happened, and I never imagined this being a possible outcome. I'm going to take everyone's advice, and I'm going to try to initiate a conversation between my daughter and I. She is a grown adult, and I could have handled the situation in a better way. I will still refuse to speak to Adam because it's clear his moral compass is lost. But for those who tell me to mind my business, it's hard to mind my business when my child is involved with someone 20 years older than her and someone I know personally. I will try to keep an open mind and follow everyone's advice. Thank you. Even though this is a hideous situation, I've been that daughter. And what's really important is that she knows that you're not going to turn your back on her when it falls apart. It will hit her eventually. And even if she doesn't feel like you support her, she needs to know that you're not going to say, "I told you so," or make her feel like it's her fault. She needs to hear that you will always help her if she needs it for any reason. Don't make it specific to this, and that you'll never stop loving her. I know we aren't seeing eye to eye on what's happening right now, but no matter what you choose to do or what happens between us, I need you to know that I love you. And if at any time in your life you need someone, you can always call me day or night, and I'll be there for you. No questions asked. For those replying that it's daughter's fault and she deserves whatever consequences come to her as an adult, look at all of the replies from people who stayed in abusive relationships because they couldn't go to their parents for help. However OP may feel about this, and she's within her right to feel embarrassed or ashamed or whatever, this message is a matter of safety and well-being. You don't want your child to feel like they can't come to you when they need help.